Last night, you spent 2 hours deciding what to wear to the party. This morning, it'll take you 2 minutes to list it on Depop and make your money back. Just grab your phone, snap a few photos, and we'll take care of the rest. The sheer dress and platform heels you'll never wear again? There's a birthday girl searching for them right now. Your one and done look is about to pay for your next night out. Or at least the ride home. Your style can make you cash. Start selling on Depop, where taste recognizes taste.
K-pop Demon Hunters, Haja Boys breakfast meal and Huntrix meal have just dropped at McDonald's. They're calling this a battle for the fans. What do you say to that, Rumi?
It's not a battle. So glad the Saja Boys could take breakfast and give our meal the rest of the day.
It is an honor to share.
No, it's our honor.
It is our larger honor.
No, really. Stop.
You can really feel the respect in this battle. Pick a meal to pick a side.
At participating McDonald's while supplies last.
It's Friday, the 17th of April, and the last time you saw us, we were demonstrating 3 South African losses in the EPCR. Tonight, we look forward to a potential 4 South African victories in the URC. Let's get stuck in. Welcome back to Bit of an Animal. This is the Friday in-depth preview show. I'm joined by the full pod squad, Bryce, Tembinkosi, and Jean. Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
Evening, guys.
Special shout out to Sibu Sisu, who will be subbing in for Tembinkosi on Monday. Look forward to seeing him, and hopefully he'll be in a good mood, considering Arsenal taking on Man City on Sunday night. He might find a reason not to attend, and we're going to have to give Tembinkosi a call and get him back on. Guys, we're getting straight stuck in because we're going to start with the Bulls game, which starts an hour from now. Really looking forward to this. The Bulls travel to the west part of England, often referred to as Wales. Jean, you're a Bull supporter. We'll go to you first. And while you talk, I'll share my screen and bring up the squad. Your thoughts on this game this evening?
Yeah, look, I think it's a stronger Bulls team as we can name at this point. Pretty experienced front row between Steenekamp and Grobler. Good lock pairing there. You've got Kobus Wiese at 4, Ruan Nortje at 5. So hoping that the lineouts go well. Glad to see Hanekom back. It's also a very dynamic back row there between Kutsia, Hanekom, and Low. And then I'm hoping we get to see the backline flow a bit against the Dragons. Dragons have shown that they do have some fire in them in terms of defense, but I'm hoping the boys up front can soften it for us and get us some gaps. We are feeling hurt on the wings with Kurtley Arendse being out of action, Seb de Klerk being out of action, so Moody shifting to wing, and then on the other wing we've got David Kriel, who is typically playing as a fullback for us, where he's enjoyed a lot of success. Now goes to 14 with Devin Williams at 15. But I think it's about a stronger team as we can name right now, so definitely not holding back. And I do like the fact that Ackerman likes consistency in his squad. I think perhaps next season, when he's had more time with the overall team, we'll see a bit more rotation. But yeah, happy with the team, and I'm counting on the bench to also make a bit of an impact. Pretty heavy bench there. Marco van Staden ready to sub in as hooker. Jan Hendrik Wessels, Mornay Smith, both guys who will need to step up next year when we're losing some key players. Yeah, so now I'm happy, and I'm keen to see the Pollard versus De Beer matchup, because Tinus De Beer was rumored to want to come to the Bulls badly enough to pay his own transfer fee. So I'm thinking, if he puts on a show here, maybe he gets noticed, maybe he gets pulled in.
Yeah, Tinus de Beer, who came through the Bulls youth system and then didn't get much game time, was maybe thought of by previous coaches as being a bit diminutive, and then he moved to the Pumas. Most players moved to the Pumas from quote unquote more prominent unions, and then do well at the Pumas and then move over to Europe or Japan first division or second division, or French first or second division. So tennis is another one in a long line of players as it relates to that. And yeah, I've also seen some articles and spoke to some people saying it's between him and Cohen Bosch of like, look, because the Bulls are short on fly-off options right now. It seems like you only have Pollard and Keegan Johannes. So maybe Valila, who can play fly-off if need be, and maybe even David Kriel. Um, as it relates to the Dragons, who did tour South Africa to reasonable success more recently, other than Tennis de Beer, they pretty much got a settled squad as well. And it makes sense the Bulls have a settled squad because there's nothing more to play for all the SA teams. It's all just URC. So rotation, there's no point in the rotation right now. Just go for it. That is a formidable Bulls team, though. You guys do have reasonable depth. Any notable absentees? I mean, Papier starting at scrum half, but you have a lot of good scrum halves. So that's not really through injury. I see Paul de Vet is there instead of, say, what was the other guy?
Zach.
Yeah, Zach
That's very
Burger.
good.
Yeah. So a
Yeah,
lot of good options.
Cheswell Euster is also injured.
Ah,
He's been on fire for us.
hmm
And truly a great player. He's also on the standby list for the junior box.
hmm
So I suspect it's a short-term injury. But yeah, there's not a only other ones that are notable in terms of not being not being present, I would say would be Volko Low.
hmm
Um, but yeah, no, it's a pretty much like I said, it's the strongest squad we can put out right now. And barring rotation and injuries, I don't really see how we can point a finger to say that we could possibly put a stronger squad on the field.
Yeah, is Walkolo still out for family reasons?
As far as I know, yes. So I don't think he joined the touring squad, so he will, in all likelihood, be back for the next home match. And then yeah, what we typically see under Ackerman recently is Pollard getting subbed off and Leroux taking up the 10 jersey instead of the fullback jersey. So there is a bit of an element of Leroux being a utility back in that he can cover 15 and 10. So, there's options there. Devin Williams definitely can cover 14. In case Krill needs to go off, Leroux can cover 15, can cover 10. I wouldn't put him necessarily on the wing or in the centers, but he can definitely slot in at 10 and 15. Um, so yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm pretty happy with the team.
it's interesting seeing Devin Williams and Sergil Peterson, because I haven't been in the team quite some time, and one forgets that the Bulls have these players at their disposal. Devin Williams, another player, didn't came through the VP system, didn't get much game time, then went to Pumas. So there's a theme here. And then instead of going overseas, he went to the Bulls. So yeah, a guy who can play really well on wing. And it just, I don't know, it reflects how much talent we have in South Africa. So yeah, good luck to them. Nice to see the two of them back in the mix, having not gotten that much game time. And also Philo Gomede, who recently signed an extension at the Bulls, a player I rate quite highly, having come through the Shark system. I was quite upset when we lost him because I thought maybe he's very good for lock slash blindside flank. Still, I hope he returns to Durban at some point. And yeah, having Ron van Mark and Gomede on the bench along with that front row forwards, it would also be interesting to see if Marco van Staden actually comes on and plays hooker. Because if Grobelaar is fine and they just want to keep Grobelaar going, they might have Van Staden just play flank. Although we're going to want Van Staden to not, unlike the Glasgow game, we want him to come on and carry the ball and maybe make turnovers and not try and fight people like he did 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, you can take the Bulls out of Pretoria, but you can't take Pretoria out of the Bulls.
It's that whole thing of like Trickus du Plessis, who I have my own issues with or whatever. I saw him the other day. He's not that big. He's only slightly taller than me, and he's not I thought he would be much bigger than me, slightly bigger than me.
Right.
He was also, like I said, he was also wearing incredibly tight pants for some reason. The joke of like Dricus du Plessis is like the UFC champion, but he's only ranked fifth in Brakpan.
Mm.
Yeah. No, look, I'll tell you what a very adept fighter once told me. Beware of the small guys. They're like little spider monkeys. So yeah. No, look, I think it's going to be a good match, and I'm definitely hoping the Bulls can get to at least the semi-final, maybe even a final. But I do keep myself realistic in the fact that we've had a massive season in terms of disruptions. We've had a new head coach, support coaches were coming and going, game plans being changed, defensive setups being changed. Andre Pollard coming in after being, signed but not present yet, injuries, young guys coming in, and a lot of talent that we're saying goodbye to at the end of the season. But Ackerman did say in another interview that he's hoping that once this season is over and they get to have a proper preseason with him, um, that the Bulls fans will then experience the full extent of where he wants to take this team. I'm glad that we're finally touching on that, because it's been a long time of the Bulls taking it on the chin, and staying stum about how much disruption there was, and the fact that he acknowledges that a preseason with the players and the coaches and everything could be very useful. I think speaks to that, in that it's been a very disrupted season for the Bulls, and I think we'll be happy to reach a semi-final.
Pepsi Prebiotic Cola in original and cherry vanilla. That Pepsi taste you love, with no artificial sweeteners and 3 grams of prebiotic fiber. Pepsi Prebiotic Cola. Unbelievably Pepsi.
Yeah. My only issue with that is, before we move on to the Stormers game, is there's a lot of Springboks now in the Bulls team because they earn their right. Before the Bulls signed them, they weren't Springboks, and they've earned their right to be Springboks through their performances. And that brings up its own issue that the Bulls CEO said of like, we have an 8-week preseason, but these Oaks are only here for 2 weeks. So like, what these are the guys we think are going to be like our first team players, but they're not even in preseason with the Springboks. They're actually playing games with the Springboks, and we get them for max 2 weeks, if that. So we'll see. I mean, the Sharks are struggling with that. The Stormers have struggled with that in past. So we'll see how that sort of affects the Bulls next season. We move on to the Stormers game. So the Bulls game is this Friday night, an hour from when we're recording. So please enjoy that. And then we move on to the Stormers game, which is a 1:45 on Saturday, tomorrow. Bryce, you are hosting Connacht. I was at this exact game almost exactly a year ago. The weather is very much island weather. It seems like the Irish brought their weather with them to Cape Town. Um, Damien Willems is on the wing again. Galant is starting again, and we don't bash Galant on this podcast, but we do feel like shouldn't he have been dropped for and pushed Willems to 15 and brought one of their many talented wings on the wing. So give us your thought, Bryce, while I display the team on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's almost the same team as the Toulon. So, look, I don't know what happens in training, because apparently there's different things that happen in training and different things that happen on the match. So I don't know what the vision is with Willems at 14. Because I thought it was like, okay, you got Galant at 15, then maybe Willems covers at 15 also, but I haven't seen it. I didn't see it on against Toulouse, not Toulon. So I'm not sure, but I hope to be proven wrong here. But yeah, with the Galant thing, I don't know, eh? It's been 14 rounds plus couple of, and I think we're all in consensus here. Maybe you should be number 23, like a super sub, one man bomb squad, when your back's against the wall, you bring him on, you're going to lose anyway, but if you bring him on, you might win type of player. Because I'm not seeing him being that dominant 15 that's been, how many seasons has it been now? four seasons at 15, and he hasn't really established himself as that controlling 15 that like like our Ben Smith, you get Damon Willems, so you get Hugo Keenan, and then you get like Warwick Gelant, it's it's not the same, man. But otherwise, in terms of the team, it's a nice looking team. I like that Skara's getting in minutes, and I know he himself actually said that he knows it's coming to this point where he's going to have to give way to the others. So fair enough. I think he's a Stormers legend. He's been there during the good times and the really really bad times and the good times again. So it's nice that he's still there, and hopefully he gets a nice send off this season, because I think he's been a really good servant. Maybe he can be a player coach, but I think there's a limit to that. I don't know how many players can become player coaches there. But otherwise, I'm not too worried about this game, because I think, okay, the rain might actually favor the Stormers here, because I don't think the Stormers have been that good on attack, actually, to be honest. I think they haven't been good on attack. They haven't been good. You can say they've been okay on defense. But I think the rain's probably going to help them with those 20 scrums. They're going to win 20 penalties, then, because I was looking at the stats earlier, and actually Connacht and Storm was actually quite even on a lot of stats, except two major ones, which is scrum penalties one, which if I can remember, actually I have the numbers here. So I got these stats. So it says here, Stormers scored 48 tries and Connacht scored 46 tries. Points per game is 27 for the Stormers, 24 for Connacht. Tackle success is 78 for the Stormers and 81 for Connacht. Turnovers one is 78 for the Stormers, 86 for Connacht. And then you get to something like the scrum penalties, 52 one from the Stormers and 14 from Connacht. Now, that to me was really eye-opening, because it's like, because Connacht's ninth or eighth on the log, and their stats are more or less the same except in scrums. So thank goodness it's raining, because I think this could be another close game if the scrums wasn't a factor. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
last
think
year Connacht actually looked good, even
yeah,
though they were underdogs at Cape Town Stadium in very dry
yeah,
conditions. Their ball in
mm,
hand was quite good. They've rotated quite a bit. No Bandiaki there.
mm,
No Finley Beelan. I saw Finley Beelan was the
mm,
only major star that played for the team when
mm,
they toured last year, almost the exact same time. There was no what's the Australian guy that came over?
mm.
I forget his name.
Like
Um,
Hansen.
yeah, Mac, return of the Mac
Mm,
Hansen. I'm sure Mac Hansen's somewhere, and he's probably getting a tattoo right
mm,
now. It's a bit look on the podcast WhatsApp group. You guys have seen me wax lyrical about Skaran
mm,
Tomini, and that's from somebody who lives in the city of Cape Town municipality but does not support
mm,
Western Province or Stormers. I was always a big fan of his. I've just and obviously I did meet him once in passing at Roundabosch Common.
sure.
Him and his wife and his beautiful kid. So congratulations to them. I was just somewhat surprised that he didn't retire end of last season. I just assumed he was going to
Mm,
retire, and then they named him in the Curry Cup team, and I thought, okay, maybe they're just short on hookers, so they're just going to play him in the Curry Cup team. But he stuck around. I am concerned that because the last few times I did see him play, I'm concerned that I hope this isn't sentiment. I mean, they know the type of
mm,
performances they need in training, so the coaching staff would know best if he is ready to play still at URC level. It's interesting the Stormers front row options are Nchunu, Zach Porthen, highly rated Zach Porthen at
mm,
tight head, and Nchunu at loose head. And Ntubeni. None of these three guys are quite the scrummaging monsters that you would that I would look Porthen as a potential to be there. Nchunu still quite young. Hopefully, will be there. Was always more of a mobile, lucid than sort of a oxen chair, eat cake type guy. Um, but they have a reasonably big pack around them.
mm,
I mean, JD Schickling, Andre Smith, the big dudes. Ben Jason Dixon is back. Evan Ross is there, a bit smaller in terms of the other side of the scrum at loose at open side. It's Dion Fourie. So what I'm trying to get to though is that the Stormers have Andre Hofenta, Oli Kebble, and I think Fouché as the replacement front row, and that combination is generally thought of as the scrum you to death team. So it's interesting. And then they've also got Ruben van Heerden on the bench, who's a big guy but extremely mobile. And they've gone with a 6-2 split. So look, I think Dobson has a lot of credit in the bank in terms of his coaching thing. I mean, I don't support the Stormers, but I do respect Dobson. To a degree, I'm starting to sort of really wonder about this Toulon type Damien Willemse on the wing, because Toulon do that with Blair Kinghorn. So, and the fact that they could, in my view, maybe like protect Galant by giving him a few weeks off out of the limelight, having come back on different terms and stuff like that. Galant, who played one season for the Stormers after coming through from the Bulls, and then obviously winning the URC, and then going away to France, and then coming back for 2 seasons. And since he's been back, he hasn't been in that much form. So we'll see what happens, because I mean, Wandisile Simelane had played fullback earlier part of the season, but he's very much an outside center wing type player. And yeah, Galant is not like a Ben Smith fullback, is more of like a run it back fullback instead of a kick for the corner fullback. So we're gonna have to see what happens. I do like in the Bulls game, I suspect that the Bulls are slight favorites, and I hope they win. And in the Stormers game, I really hope they do win this as well, because I want to see as many SA teams in the playoff positions and as high in the playoff positions as possible. So yeah, nothing really stands out. I mean, Ken Pendergrass, he's there. He's a quality player. They've got the Murray guy at lock. We've got Josh Murphy at on the bench. Oh yeah, it's Josh Murphy. Yeah, we'll talk more about him on Sunday night on the URC Rewind. Guys, we'll have to move on swiftly because this is a very short podcast. I'm going to move to Temikosi. Temikosi, you've been incredibly patient sitting and listening to us yap. Your Lions team plays immediately after the Stormers team, and you guys have a really good chance of defeating top of the table Glasgow, because you've got just about a settled team, and Glasgow have had to rotate quite a bit. Your thoughts, Temikosi?
I'm hoping this has to be a win if if we're trying to get a good spot, especially for the playoffs. Especially take into consideration that the last two games are going to be away, and it's Munster and Leinster. So we need to start banking points now. But in terms of teams, this looks like the strongest team we can kind of put out right now. Actually, it is the strongest team that we can put up. So I'm happy. I'm actually quite. How can I put this? I can't wait to see how we will play. I'm expecting this is going to be a dazzling game because both teams like to run with the ball. Hopefully, we will have an edge with the kicking game, especially the short range kickers. That's where I think we might have a little bit of an edge. Otherwise, I feel like everyone is going to be running around. But can Glasgow actually put up the 80 minutes for the game, especially in the Highveld? I'm not sure, but I'm thinking it's going to be a very exciting game to watch, at least.
Yeah,
I reckon Glasgow will give you guys a run. They beat us at Loftus. Glasgow are my pick of team of the URC. They've got the fitness, they've got the forwards, and one thing they do have is an incredible self-belief. The way they reeled in the Bulls when they knocked us out of the Champions Cup speaks volumes to their mental state. And I think in terms of the altitude, one thing I've realized is I don't think it applies that much to modern day teams. I think the modern day teams are too well coached for it. I have my suspicions on how they do it, on how they prep for the altitude, but I think they just prep for it, and they condition for it starting about 2 weeks out. But yeah, I agree. This is going to be a very tight match. I'm very excited to see this. I would love to see how the Lions cope with the very aggressive defense from Glasgow, because they really put us under the pump.
although to be fair, that Glasgow team that beat the Bulls in the URC final at Loftus in Pretoria. That was it's a very different team to the match 23 we're seeing now. Although we have to factor in that Franco Smith, which is very rare in rugby, seems to still get but like 50% win ratio with the second team, which obviously helped Glasgow move up the table. The one player that every team's got injuries and stuff. The one player the Lions are missing is Renzo Duplessis, but they do have JC Pretorius back, which is very similar type player. So I mean, Siba Mahash is in the form of his life. Excellent player on open side, but not like a classic open side like Paul de Villiers, more of a prime Siya Kolisi open side where he still brings the physicality. Ruan Venter is a very player I rate highly at blindside and at lock, can play at lock as well. And then Frankie Warren is very much an unheralded player. They've got a lot of unheralded players in the Lions setup, like Eric Cronje, super underrated, sort of almost came from obscurity within the Lions depth chart. Your thoughts, Demikosi?
No, I also just wanted to highlight the fact that Kelu Piku is coming back. We seem like we have a really settled team. The only person like I have a problem with on the whole entire squad is probably Angelo Davies, but I feel like he's not giving it his all anymore. Not necessarily that he's a bad player. I just feel like sometimes when you need to make that run and you just need to put in a little bit effort to catch that person just before he gets to that line. I feel like he doesn't do that anymore. But in terms of everything else, I'm really happy with the team, and to have JP Pretoria's back, that is actually a good thing. I would have liked to see him maybe start with Mahasha as like a pairing for the flanks to see how explosive it would be, but maybe the time will come.
Yeah, this is a more classic open side, blind side combo, but yeah, it would be nice to see maybe later in the game a double open side, more speed type combo. Although you do need like the players to hit up. I mean, Glasgow have rotated quite significantly because of injuries mostly, and then having to rest players. I mean, they played two Champions Cup games back to back at home, and then they had to fly over to Joburg, but they do still have quality players who played in those games. I don't believe Carl Rowe was involved. Hugh Jones was arrested for both those games. Stephen McDowell played outside center. They do have Sione Tuipulotu on the wing, though. So the standout players for Glasgow would be Josh Mackay, Carl Rowe, Hugh Jones, Stephen McDowell, Dan Lancaster, kinda. Former Wallaby, Jack Dempsey, going through the team. Nathan Macbeth, former Lion, is playing against his old team. Damn. And then yeah, Ben
The
Asher,
inside man.
somewhat. Yeah, it's gonna give you that sort of like inside info. All right, so yeah, I also slightly I slightly think the Lions are slight favorites for this, but it's going to be a tough game because Glasgow, even when they rotate, are a tough team to defeat. They still pull out the
But
performances.
just by
Mhm.
going by how the matches, like their previous matches, it seems like whoever is home normally wins
Yeah, look, home advantage
between
does
these two
help, but
teams
then
specifically.
again, Glasgow did in terms of these particular teams, yeah, very much so.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm hoping for a Lions victory. This game kicks off immediately after the Stormers game. Guys, we move swiftly along to much later in the evening where my Sharks also go to um rural England, aka Wales, to take on the Ospreys and our good friend Dan Kasende, formerly of the Cheetahs, born in the DRC. Um, and the Sharks pretty much selected the best possible team, barring injuries. The big standout is young 18-year-old, hasn't even played for the baby box yet, only played for SA Schools. Schools rugby sensation, Siaya, fullback, can play wing if you need him to. Yeah, but the overall team that the Sharks picked also very much like the Stormers picked maybe their scrummaging forwards on the bench, looking to maybe get some late scrum penalties. In the starting team, the standouts would be Edwin van der Merwe's back on the wing. Leroux Malan, who surprisingly has impressed me since arriving from MLS and New Zealand. a Sharks youth product. Andre Este isn't back. That always helps. Ethan Hook on the wing, excellent in the air. Jean Smith starting. He played really well against Connacht when we got knocked out of Challenge Cup 2 weeks ago in windy Galway. Jaden Hendricks returns from injury, so that's a senior player at scrum half. Manu Chituka, very very glad to see him alongside his brother Vincent, and then Pepsi Buthelezi now playing very well at open side, a converted eighth man. Emil van Heerden, excellent sort of a Victor Matfield type lock. Jason Jenkins, again, I need a bit better performance from Jason Jenkins, all due respect. Andrew Jacobs, Faison Bata and Patu Kanyane starting at the front row. Not bad players. Maybe not as seasoned as the guys who are going to replace them, except maybe for Eddie Swart, who's quite more on the young side, alongside veterans Oxenche and Vincent Koch. Young, built like a brick shit house corner. This guy's so tall and massive. Nick Hatton covering basically all the flanks. Interestingly, that the Sharks have actually gone with a 5-3 split. I would have actually gone 6-2 personally, but I'm not the coaching staff. They know better. Bradley Davis is back from injury and he's played really well since he's returned with his educated left foot. Siama Suku, again, big fan of his 2 seasons ago, but he's been a shadow of his former self, all due respect. Renzo Julius, did I say Duplessis? Blows hot and cold. So I picked the other South African team's slight favorites. I think the Sharks are ever so slight favorites. I haven't checked the weather report for this game either. Ospreys, who earlier in the season were told that they were going to close down, like the Super Rugby team got closed down earlier today. So yeah, this one's going to be tight. I obviously hope for a Sharks victory and somehow we sneak into the playoffs. Bryce, your thoughts on the Sharks with the last game of the week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm when I saw that Secretelo CI, I was quite excited because I have been watching him go up through the ranks, school rugby, even the junior, not the what's it, the SA schools as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think he might give Fassi a run for his money if he does get off on a get off fast. I think he's got the full package. I like he's almost like how should I say it? It's almost like sometimes he plays like a Flav and sometimes plays like Ben Smith. Sometimes he's special. I think he's going to be someone to watch in the junior. But I'm interested to see how Jean he links up with Jean because I think Jean's more of a. I know Jean wants to play more ball in hand, but I think his strength is actually in his kicking. So it'll be interesting to see how those two pivot of each other. And it's nice to see Andre Esterhuizen. I think he's going to bring a nice stability to that back line. I think in the last couple of games, it was the 12 in the other games, if you can remember. I don't know.
Yeah, that was minus Duplessis. I mean, Potgieter. They just call him
Potgieter,
Potty. Yeah, he joined the Sharks like 3 seasons ago as a wing. He did play wing for the Baby Box. He joined from the Bulls because his name is Potgieter. But he was basically injured for this entire time. We got one good season out of Potgieter, and he was a winger, and now he's like a converted inside center. And he did the best he could against Bandiaki, against Connacht and Bandiaki in Galway. But like after a while, he got overrun. So it's happy to see Andre Esterhuizen back. Anybody stand out in the Ospreys team? Zach Morgan. That's the only thing. Tom Botha's there. Everyone remembers Tom Botha, and then Ross Moriarty.
Dan Edwards, I don't know. Is he a Welsh international?
Yeah. He's a current Welsh international. Yeah.
I was going to say the
same. Van
Yeah. Dan Cascente is formerly. Oh yeah, and then there's another cheater in this former cheater in this Ospreys team, Ivande Bosov. Yeah, he played for outside center for the Cheetahs not too long ago. So it's sort of a mix mash team, this Ospreys team. They are. I don't follow the Welsh teams that closely because the Welsh national team is such a garbage fire. It's like if a team's not a threat, I don't follow them that closely. Whereas like Glasgow, I know like through and through because they're very much a threat. So no offense to the Welsh teams, but yeah, look, I'm told that this is a very good Ospreys team, and it's not going to be easy for the
Mm.
this sort of disjointed Sharks team to get a victory. But I certainly hope they actually get a victory. All right,
Mm.
guys, that concludes the URC coverage of this week. Quick shout out to Eric Cornier. I thought I knew him from somewhere, and yeah, he's at the Lions now playing wing, but he came through the Bull system. Played for the Southern Kings, that's where I know him from. Played Pumas when the Southern Kings had to close down. Was actually at Zebre for quite some time and played 30 games. Wow, good for him. And now he's back at the Lions. Where's he born? He's obviously South African. Does it say where in South Africa is born? It doesn't specify. All right, we're going to quickly brush over some SA Cup round six coverage, guys. So SA Cup is like the secondary tournament for all the other teams not in the
Mm.
URC. So Boland Cavaliers in different seasons so far, but they're definitely gonna run over Border
Mm.
Bulldogs. Griffins and the Falke, it's sort of um in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, so that'll be in Welkom. Um so the rejuvenated Southwestern District Eagles,
Mm.
very good recruitment down in George, Outeniqua Park. They take on the Cheetahs. This could legitimately go either way. This is a very much 50-50 game. The Southwestern
It
District
actually
Eagles on the up.
determines it actually
It might,
determines who will end up probably fourth on the log,
yeah.
who
And fourth on the log
qualifies.
doesn't just, yeah, it doesn't just give you playoff position. It also means you qualify for the at the end of the season if you get fourth or first or fourth for the Currie Cup Premier Division, which generates a lot more funding than the Currie Cup First Division. Um, Eastern Province Elephants, EP Elephants, are hosting Griquas, and I've seen the Griquas players social media and Instagram. They are very much enjoying themselves right now as we speak on the beach in Gqeberha. So good for them because they're more than likely to end the week on Saturday at 5 o'clock with a resounding victory against a
Mm.
complete shambles EP Elephants. John, any thoughts on the SA Cup? Anything stand out to you?
Yeah, I think the Eagles are a team to keep an eye on. Heineke Meyer has been putting in some good work there. The Cheetahs will be an interesting team to watch. We know that they've recently signed Faf de Klerk, um, which is weird because they also
Mm.
went through a financial restructuring, in that their finances weren't doing wonders. So I think the Cheetahs are in a very tricky situation there. Um, but yeah, look, I'm always a fan of the Pumas, and I'm hoping the Pumas. And I know they've got a bye this week, but I'm hoping the Pumas will end up in a good place. We've seen the Airlink Pumas go quite far previously in these competitions. Oh, they're playing tonight. Yeah.
Mm.
But then, yeah, also just keeping an eye on the Eagles, seeing what Heineke Meyer uh, gets there. And I think maybe what that will do for the Eagles is we will maybe see some more Eagles players end up in URC franchises on loan, just benefiting from the fact that they've been coached by a former Springbok coach, who has a good idea of the setup and the type of requirement it takes to raise your game. So this could be an opportunity for some of those guys at the Eagles who are, in the words of a certain radio station, bubbling under. Just sort of waiting for the chance to make it big. We're always happy for another Jandre Rudolph or one of those guys to make their way to the big leagues. But yeah, I think as far as second division rugby goes, nothing to complain about for us. I really just hope the fans do make their way to these games and enjoy the community rugby that's put on show.
Yeah. So yeah, earlier I was trying to count the fixtures on the one screen here, and I only counted four, but there are 10 teams in this tournament. So I thought, like, where's the fifth game? And then that's because this is the SA Rugby website, by the way, which is not always the most reliable. And that's because because this game is tonight, they've already shifted it to the results tab, even though I
Mm.
think it might have kicked off already because it's 7 o'clock. Yeah.
Mm.
Kicked off an hour ago. So there's no live feed for it, but it's on the results tab because it's going on right now. So yeah, that's why I was looking like, where's the other fixture? And it is the Pumas versus the Leopards in Mbombela Stadium in Mbombela, Mpumalanga. So I suspect that the Pumas will put up like a three-digit score against the Leopards. Um, So it's gonna be super interesting in the standings to see because there's only four spaces in the playoff, but there's five teams fighting for it. So one of
Mm.
these quote unquote more prominent teams in the SA Cup is going to be left out not only from the playoffs but also from the Currie Cup Premier Division. And there is an argument to say
Mm.
like let them all in because it'll make the Currie Cup Premier Division very
Mm.
good. And the thing about the Southwestern District Eagles is George is a nice place to live. Yes, it's got issues in terms of water and whatnot, like Neisner, but when we heard that Heineken Meyer, along with this consortium, because Heineken Meyer is obviously keen to sort of retire in George, was going to try this thing out, try invest into the team and see what they can do. They there was like this, there was this one player they were really linked, they were basically linked to all the Bulls players who left for the MLS. They were like telling all the Bulls players that left for the MLS, like, hey, do you really like living in America? It's kind of a shitty place. Why don't you just live in George? Um, and then some of those players went to Borland, that was speculated to be going to Southwestern District Eagles, and then some did go to Southwestern District Eagles. I mean, they got Fred Salinger out of retirement, but the point I'm trying to make is that they've not got one seriously high-profile player. They've all got like obscure players, guys that like, oh, I know that name, and then you realize, oh, he played like 2 seasons with the Sevens, and now he's playing flank for open side flank for Southwestern District Eagles, captaining the team. So you have to give them credit. They didn't buy their way to success a la Roman Abramovich. They actually like did really smart in terms of like which players can we recruit that are on the fringes of other systems and build a decent team. So I actually hope they make the Currie Cup Premier Division and I hope they're competitive like Portland were before. But it is going to kind of suck that like one of those teams are going to not miss out. Of course, the Cheetahs didn't do so well last season in the Currie Cup Premier Division. The Cheetahs are yeah, Cheetahs are a mess. And then like yeah, like John said, Faf de Klerk's going to um, start his retirement at the Cheetahs, which is super weird because he's 2.5 years younger than Cobus Reinach. But we'll talk about Springboks later in the season. But yeah, I can still see Faf in the Springbok setup because I mean we're writing Faf off now because we don't get to see him play and we know he's injured and he plays in Japan. So and he's not been in the Springbok team for a while. So we just assume like he's a spent force. But Rassi knows
It's
better.
it's been an unlucky couple of years from it for him. He was out quite a long time in 2022. He had a very severe concussion in 2022. Um, so he was out for a long time there. After the Rugby World Cup in 2023, he suffered a hip injury. He missed most of the 2023-2024 Japan League One season. They actually signed a medical joker in his stead, um, because he couldn't play due to a hip injury. Came back, he got match fit. He played, I think, a couple of games for the Box. I think he saw out the end of the 2023-2024 Japan season. Got injured again. Had another injury on top of that. So it's been a very unlucky run. And like you're saying, we're not writing him off. He's definitely a quality scrum half. And I think for a lot of us, in the same mold as Andre Pollard, he's one of the faces that lifted the Springboks out of the darkness, in the way that they played, um, in 2019 and 2018. But it's been unlucky in the sense that he's been consistently injured, and due to those injuries, he just lacks game time. And it could be that, you know, being here, being with his family. I know he's recently had children. They're still very small, and that sort of always reprioritizes whether or not you're playing overseas or not, because it becomes very difficult, then to manage playing overseas and playing here. Um,
Start your day with Quaker Protein Instant Oatmeal. The instant oatmeal ready to help you tackle whatever your day brings, like wrangling your toddler into their car seat. That was fun. Coaching your sixth graders soccer team. Go girls! And carrying all the groceries in one trip. Whew. Try Quaker Protein Instant Oatmeal, Granola, and Bars. Great taste and a good source of protein. Quaker, bring out the good.
so, as far as I know, his wife has got family in Bloemfontein, which also influenced the decision. But I think there's a deeper drive at the Cheetahs. and we could speak about this on Monday. I don't want to take up too much time, but I think there's definitely a drive at the Cheetahs to get into another league. And I mean they've been open about their desire. We're hearing rumors and well not rumors, it seems to be pretty much confirmed that Super Rugby is going to lose a team. We don't know if you never know with these things. Like you said, a month ago the Ospreys were scheduled to be shuttered, and now it seems to be the complete opposite, with everything ready to go to court. So it's very difficult to make a call on these things. But there's a clear drive by the Cheetahs. I mean, they've spent money improving the stadium. They're buying international players with international experience. So it's very difficult to make a call right now, and it wouldn't surprise me if Faf stays on the fringes of the Springbok squad. Hopefully, he can get consistent game time, and if he has consistent game time, we can maybe see him in his best form again.
Yeah, because I mean, look, we've seen Ruan Pina retire in Bloom because it suits his family life. We've seen Franz Steyn retire in Bloom because it suits his family life. A lot of people saw Francois Steyn make his debut for the Sharks with like looking like a surfer dude, and they would just assumed he was from KZN. He's not from KZN. Francois Steyn and Ruan Pina come from a time when, if you were young and you were really good at rugby and you were living in the Eastern, in the Free State, you would first, if their premier talent would always go to Western Province Bulls and the Sharks. Why? Because those unions could financially incentivize you a bit better. And then then Free State had so much talent that they still could run out a competitive Cheetahs team, because even though their premier guys would get snapped up from Grand Como Week and different youth tournaments, they still had lots of talent. So I'm not writing of Faf. He's from Mbombela, he's from Mpumalanga, but obviously, like you said, his wife is from Free State. And if you have small kids, that having been said, Visa, our Jasper Visa, our like first choice number 8 at national team level, when he left his premiership team in Leicester in England, he said, "Oh, it's for family reasons and it's time to move back home." And then he signed in Japan. So I didn't know he was from Japan, but like you never know. There's people from all over the place. So he was like, "Oh, I've got small kids, and it's best for my small kids to be with their grandparents." And then maybe that's what he meant. The small kids go to the grandparents, and I go to Japan. So on that
So,
note,
so
Bryce,
hold
last
on.
one. Yeah.
So when are we gonna see, Malcolm Marx retire at the Lions?
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Nah.
I thought
Look,
maybe I mean it would be cool if Kobus Reinach not Kobus Reinach, if Faf went to one of the
Mm.
URC teams, but all the URC teams are stacked in terms of scrum halves.
Mm.
I think
Yeah,
I think let's just calm down on bringing Malcolm Marx back. We need him in
Mm.
prime shape
Mm.
for 2027.
Yeah,
We can't have him playing rough rugby here with us with us hard bastards. He
yeah,
needs to be in proper good shape. We need
yeah,
him to beat up the All
Mm.
Blacks this year and then to bring back the Webb Ellis next year.
Mm.
yeah. So
Um,
what you're saying,
Don't send
Sean,
him to the
is
Sharks, please. Don't send him to the Sharks because he will get injured at the
hey,
Sharks.
we don't know what's going on in SRC. So what you're saying, Jean, is if Malcolm, no, not if, but when Malcolm Marx returns to have his sojourn with the Lions, much to Sibusiso and Tim Nkosi's delight, because he's a very good player. Everybody's talking about all this talk about like Dan Sheehan so good, Dan Sheehan so good. Is somebody sending these articles and videos of you, Griffin, talking about how good Dan Sheehan to Malcolm Marx in Japan, and just sitting there going, "Oh yeah, Dan Sheehan's like really good. I can play. He can play a flank. Okay." So what you're saying is he can do it after the World Cup. I concur with that assessment. On that note, gentlemen, we've already run over time. This is the week. This is the Friday podcast. So like, subscribe, click the notification bell, and if you've got to the end of this part of the podcast, give us a rating on the audios as well. 5 stars, likes, all that stuff. And if you got this far to the end of the podcast on YouTube, prove it by commenting in the comment section. Was our weekend? And only South Africans know the sort of context to that. Rest in peace to that dude from that show, by the way. Yeah, as we say every week, until Monday, in Rasi, we trust.